It's time for another edition of Heavy in the Paint, where great sports talk, great guests, and great laughs calls home in the paint. Here's your hosts, sports aficionado Gerald Brown and former NBA star Kenny Anderson with Justin Payton. Let's get in the paint. Take it away, guys.
Yes, indeed. I'm flying solo tonight, but nevertheless, it's always a pleasure to be back on air in the paint. And you know what? We're getting around that time of the year. Football, basketball, and mixed in a little sprinkle of the Major League Baseball. But you know what? Without further ado, it's always a pleasure to get this gentleman's ear for a moment or two. He's a part of Jets Nation. He's a host. Covering the New York Jets, who made the big news last week, part of the trade deadline. Rami Lavi is joining me. Rami, first and foremost, thank you so much for the time. And I'm going to say it straight up and exact. You know what, Rami? When I look at the Jets in this trade, we've had an opportunity for it to marinate, if you will. Give me your thoughts on it now that obviously a little time has passed.
First of all, I appreciate you for having me. And yeah, I think at some point you got to make a decision. These guys are talented players. I love Quinnen Williams. He was a guest on my show with Bleav. I love Sauce Gardner. I love what they were building. They gave him the contract 3.5 months ago. So clearly the organization loves him. But at the same time, you were losing with them. You can lose without them. So at some point, you need to hit the reset, right? At some point, you need to hit that reset button and decide, we're losing too much right now. We got to change the directions. We got to change it up. And maybe there's a little Ewing theory thrown in there. They win the first game. The defensive line, they couldn't get any pressure with Quinnen Williams on it. All of a sudden, they're sacking the quarterback, albeit, Dylan Gabriel, but they're sacking him, whatever it was, 5-6 times in that game. So I don't know. There's got to be something to it. When you bring in a guy who's supposed to be a culture changer, in Aaron Glenn, the first thing you have to do is change the culture. That means getting rid of the old and bringing in the new. So, look, it's been a tough season. I still don't have high hopes for this coaching staff based on some other stuff, but I think it was the right decision, and I really like what Muji's done. I mean, the contract he signed with Sauce Gardner was a flexible enough one that he was able to just dump it on Indianapolis. Look, the Jets aren't going to be in a position where they are a all-pro corner away from winning a Super Bowl in the next 3 to 4 years. So why not recoup some assets, get a guy who, by the way, A.D. Mitchell, his playing time was decreasing in Indianapolis. He's actually a pretty good wide receiver. He's a second-round pick from last year. It's not like he's old. He's a second year in the league. A.D. Mitchell and 2 firsts, and then I think they fleeced Dallas. I mean, Quinnen's a little bit older. His contract's not as long-term. And I think that's a case of where they just went to a desperate old man who literally said it. And I'm just quoting Jerry Jones. He says, I'm desperate because I might die soon. That's what he said. I'm not saying it. He's like, I need to go all in. And they found that guy. They targeted him, and they got a good haul for a guy who was a really good player, but was done with the organization and wanted to be out in Quinnen Williams.
So here's the thing where I said last week, I really Bleav, and it's such a harsh word, but I think the Jets are lying. Management is lying and lying to the fans because of 2 things. Number one, I honestly Bleav that, okay, to take away from an area that provides strength, stability, more than if it's strength, but it's stability. To take away, and now you're going to say, all right, look, we're already in a position. We're going to have a high draft pick based upon our record currently. So now we're saying we need to get more assets for what? To replenish what you already have that is solidified, that's a strength, that is something that, again, you take away from a strength when you're already in a position that you're going to be able to fill that weakness. And all that I feel, and I take away with this, is what a lot of the general managers do in professional sports. They go to the owner and they say, hey, look, we don't have a franchise piece. It's going to take me about 5 years. And then, you know what? Listen, we go through this tough season. We got an opportunity. We could get all these assets. And now they restart this, the wheel, if you will, the over again, because
they
now
kick the can down the road.
Yes. Now they're saying, well, hey, look, after year 2, year 3, well, you know what? I need another, 5 years. I should set myself for extension, because now we got that quarterback. He's going to need some time to develop, and now we'll be on our way. And now all the while, you sell Jet fans on this sort of hope and belief that, yeah, we got all these draft picks. And look, that's the same thing that's happened to the Knicks. And look at what's happened with the Brooklyn Nets. There is no guarantees when you have draft picks that you're going to choose guys that's going to change your culture and is going to change the direction of your franchise. I'm not believing in that. And I think ultimately this is something that where they're looking and saying, okay, we're going to spin the wheel and really restart everything by draft taking away from an area that was a strength, and now try to figure out some areas that is a stronger need. And that brings me to my next question to you. The Jets, it's all of a sudden they've had this is their MO. They'll play bad, and then we'll get around that time of the year where you're saying, hey, look, you're in the conversation for that number one pick. And then all of a sudden they'll string along 4 or 5 wins, and everybody is like, what are you doing? And they're, we'll hear the passionate speech by the coach. We come to play. We come to play. It seems like that with that win against the Browns. Rami, is that kind of Groundhog Day all over again when it looks at what the Jets are doing?
100%. I said it before the season. I said it when they were 0-7. People are like, they're gonna have a winless season. I said, no way. That's not what the Jets do. The Jets win a couple of cheap games. They drop in the draft a little bit. They'll beat New Orleans too later in the year. They'll get blown out by New England on Thursday night. They'll get blown out by Baltimore when they go to Baltimore next week. But they'll win some cheap games, enough games to lower their draft position and to ruin that. But at the same time, look, if this was Robert Saleh and an older regime, then I would agree with you. The thing is, this is a new regime. I do believe with a new regime in building culture. And the last thing about the draft picks is the Giants got the quarterback who I believe I would trade the entire Jets roster right today for Jackson Dart. There's very few people in the league I wouldn't trade for Jackson Dart. Like, they got their franchise quarterback, and they got him at 26th? So if you identify the guy, you find the right guy, you don't have to have the first or second pick. Like, look at how many guys who are taken first and second overall end up struggling and end up not being great quarterbacks. And then you have guys take it. So it's a crapshoot. And that's why you get those draft picks. That's why you make the trades, because it's shots on goal. And look, yes, they're selling the fan base on the same thing over again, but you know the recipe on how to win. You have to win with a rookie quarterback and a young team around him and young talented players. And you do that by building a nucleus, and you do that through the draft. Look at what Detroit, everyone talks about Dan Campbell. Not enough people talk about Brad Holmes and what he's done. And drafting Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, all of them within a couple of picks of each other in a couple of years. That's how they built that team. But Jahmyr Gibbs, they nailed 4 top first-round picks. Those are 4 first-round picks that they got in the Matthew Stafford trade. That's how they built this team. Not by having grit and biting kneecaps. Like, that's cool. That's nice to talk about. But in reality, it's getting great players in the first round of the draft, and they reset the timeline, sure, but they started winning right away because they nailed those draft picks. So I do think that right now, Muji's done the right thing with kicking the can down the road a little bit. We're saying, okay, it's a reset. We're getting rid of 2 players who are really talented defensive players, sure, and they could be here for a little bit for us, but let's reset the clock, and now you have to nail the picks. That's the harder part, right? Because Joe Douglas nailed most of the picks. If you look at all of his picks, he nailed most of them. He missed on the big one, right? He missed on Mekhi Becton, but he also missed on Zach Wilson. That's the biggest one. So the Jets have to nail the quarterback, but also so far what we've seen, like, I like what we've seen from A.Z. Thompson. I like what we see from Malachi Moore. I like what we see, especially from Armand Membu, the first pick from last year. So I like what the Jets have done so far, and the tight end Mason Taylor has looked really good. So if they can continue to identify talent this way and draft well, then I think they're going to be in a good position regardless.
Give me a quarterback that you would feel comfortable, that would be sort of the pseudo bridge guy that would really, again, allow the development of a young quarterback. You just mentioned about Wilson. You don't need a quarterback to thrust right in there and say, here are the keys to the castle and expect things out of him. That is the wrong recipe for the Jets. They've done that. Is there a quarterback out there that you look at and say, this would be an ideal guy that, again, would allow the Jets to be competitive, but at the same time be that bridge guy to the future?
I don't want to be too negative because I'll say this. you hear a lot of people, well, the Jets are just going to screw it up anyway. So then stop watching. Then, like, what's the point of this, right? I do believe they will screw it up because they are the Jets and they're the worst run franchise in sports, and Woody Johnson is the worst owner in sports. So they'll figure out a way. The quarterback that I keep saying that they're going to trade for, and it's going to be a disaster because he's terrible, is going to be Kyler Murray. I could see it. It's going to be a disaster. First of all, he can't even play outdoors. Like, there's a reason why he plays indoors, and that is a disaster. Like, he was benched for Jacoby Brissett, and we know what Jacoby Brissett is. Like, we're not like, there's not going to be a revelation at however old Jacoby is. And no disrespect, he's a solid backup quarterback in the league, but that's what he is. There's not going to be like this, oh my God, he's going to turn into like this Super Bowl winning capable quarterback. It's just that's how bad Kyler is, and that's how done they are with him in Arizona. And to think that the Jets would be like, oh, identify that talent and take him out, and he's still so young. The same thing they're saying about Justin Fields. Like, Justin Fields stinks. It's so obvious for everyone to see. But, like, if you ask the coach about it, no, don't question the quarterback. You're not allowed to question anything that Aaron Glenn doesn't like. So I don't know who that stopgap is. I saw this online. 25% of their salary cap next year, of their cap hit, is going to go to Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers. In 2026, that's next year. 25% of their cap is going to those two guys. So when you talk about resetting and kicking the can down the road, they needed to because of the terrible position they were in. And again, that's this regime that decided to bring in Justin Fields. So do I trust them to make the right decision at quarterback again? I don't. They need to draft someone in the draft this year. I don't care who it is. If it's the kid, from Bama, or if it's Mendoza, I don't care. Draft a quarterback in the first round. Identify your guy, draft him, make sure you like him, and then go from there and surround him with as many talented pieces. You keep Breece Hall, try and get a contract done or tag him, whatever you have to do. You have Garrett Wilson, you have A.D. Mitchell, you have a great offensive line. That's where one thing you have Mason Taylor. It's actually a good environment. And I believe in Tanner Engstrand, the offensive play caller, too. The fact that he's getting this much out of Justin Fields is incredible. It's like a miracle. They're squeezing water from a rock with Justin Fields right here. The fact that they're winning games with him. So I think keep going in this direction. I wouldn't play a franchise quarterback right away. I'd sit him for a few games and then try and thrust him into the action middle of next season, see what happens.
Yeah. Well, Russell Wilson will also be available.
It's crazy that the Jets paid like double for Justin Fields, and they could have gotten Jameis Winston. And look, did you see his press conference today with the Giants? I mean, I love him. The attitude he has, the way he's talking, he's singing. He's such an uplifting guy. The teammates love him. Everybody loves Jameis. Like, I'm betting the Giants this week. They're 7-point dogs at home against Green Bay. Bet the Giants because Jameis, he's going to deliver them. I mean, it's just, I love Jameis so much. And to think that the Jets could have been having, how many more wins do they have if Jameis Winston is their quarterback? At least 2 more wins. And if they have 2 more wins right now and they're having a fun season, that's how you build a winning good culture with Jameis. And instead, they went with Justin Fields and they paid him. Like, no one was paying him. Who are you competing with? Why'd you throw $40 million at him? It's so backwards, but it's the Jets.
Yeah. Hey, Rami, listen, let everybody know where they can catch up with you and everything that you have going on with Jets Nation. Congratulations, you and Bleav Thomas and stuff. Let everybody know where they can find that stuff.
Yeah, BP and I, we do it on Jet Nation. It's called Flight 29. Bleav obviously wore 29 with the Jets. So we talk about all things Jets once a week. So you can find it on all the Jet Nation platforms. Jet Nation on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all the places. I'm on TikTok at Rami.Lavi. Or Rami_Lavi, rather, on Instagram, Rami.Lavi. And you can hear me on WFAN also. I'm rocking with those guys. So it's fun over there, too.
Yeah, and I said it's Bilal Powell.
BP, yeah, Bilal Powell, yeah.
Bilal Powell, definitely long-time Jets running back. Listen, Rami, all the best, man. Listen, really, really appreciate the time. Definitely look forward to talking down the line.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Anytime. Rami Lavi joining me here in Heavy in the Paint. And, one of the things that's really, really fascinating about all of this stuff that is taking place, KA, like I said, he's out. He's not on the injured list, but he's doing, I think, load management tonight. We're gonna give him a load management opportunity. But you know what? I wanted to take this time because we're in the thralls of the NBA season, and most recently in a 2-day stretch. We lost some very, very monumental pillars of the NBA and really connected to New York City and the late great Lenny Wilkens, and really just Lenny himself, man. His impact, in terms of, I didn't get a chance to see him play, but having Lenny Wilkens being able to be that coach, where Lenny Wilkens was that coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who were a very dominant team in the early 90s and just really couldn't get over the hump from Michael Jordan. It's kind of like how Toronto Raptors were with LeBron, and to the point people call him LeBronto, just how dominant. And really the ascension of the Chicago Bulls actually started with the big shot against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But not only was he a great NBA coach, winning championship in Seattle, he had been very, very adamant and really been out front and really supporting the city of Seattle and the return of the Supersonics to Seattle. They had just most recently had a statue erected of Lenny in Seattle, and I thought that was nothing but a great kind gesture. And my connection is being one of the, in fact, I Bleav, we were told that on my show, the Bottom Line Sports Show, every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM NBA Radio, channel 86, and of course on your Sirius XM app, shameless plug. But Lenny actually, one of his last interview on Sirius XM was with us, and so it was an honor and a pleasure to talk to him, because the wealth of basketball knowledge. And that's always said something that I want to make sure going and doing a show with Rick Mahorn is that we pay respect and remind people of great players of yesteryear, and realize that basketball just didn't start at the inception of LeBron James and many of us guys. And then, a day after that, we get the news of, unfortunately, the passing of Michael Ray Richardson. And for those out there, it's S-U-G-A, not S-U-G-A-R, not sugar, but it's Sugar. And Sugar was the man, and Sugar will always be the man. And the biggest thing, with Sugar is the fact that, around here, it was amazing times. Amazing times. And Michael Ray Richardson, from me doing my research, he was the only player that people would say, I've heard whispers that Michael Jordan would say, that's the guy I had to worry about. And Magic Johnson was worried about the Sugar Man, S-U-G-A, the Sugar Man. Because when he was on that court, he knew only one speed. And I watched that man firsthand play a role in knocking out the Philadelphia 76ers, kind of at that almost the tail end of Doc's career, and seeing what he was able to do. And obviously the drugs had a role in obviously denying his greatness and stuff, but he had cleaned his life up and done so many different things and being a part of the NBA. And the story behind that also, too, during this run, the Oklahoma City Thunder were on, he at the time was living in Oklahoma City, was actually scheduled to come on to the Bottom Line Sports Show with Rick Mahorn and I during the Oklahoma City Thunder finals run. And we were all looking forward to it. He had to cancel last minute. And obviously, didn't get all the particulars and stuff, but he had to go to the hospital and one thing. So one thing I would take away from these greats is the impact they've had on New York City basketball, from the Sugar Man to Lenny Wilkens. When you talk about point guards and stuff like that, they are, again, pillars of what we call success. And speaking about point guards of success and stuff, and just really being those individuals that, again, talented and stuff, it's an honor and privilege to bring on minus K tonight. I don't know why he picked the night, but nevertheless, you know what? It's an honor and pleasure to bring on Mr. Pooh Richardson, one of the baddest point guards to come out of Philly, one of the baddest point guards to come out of UCLA. Oh man, it's an honor and pleasure. And now you're coaching, Coach Pooh Richardson. Coach, how you doing this evening? this afternoon?
Hey, man, I'm just chilling, man. Just taking it easy, trying to enjoy this weather out here. I know they're getting a little bit of cold front out there on that East Coast, but I'm just chilling, relaxing, man.
Yes, Lord, you know that for a fact. I want to dive into so many different things and really, really appreciate the time. And like I said, Kenny, a little under the weather. He's doing a little load management tonight, so we're going to give him a little pass, but still appreciate the time. I want to go back, first and foremost, get your thoughts on, obviously, the two legends that untimely passing of Lenny Wilkens as well as Michael Sugar Ray, the Sugar Man, Ray Richardson and stuff. And obviously you playing that position and stuff. Talk about the impact they perhaps had on you in your time while you were with the NBA.
Well, I thought, just growing up, being able to, growing up in Philly and watching Sugar Ray play at the Nets and then play at the Knicks. And I just thought he was one of the best guards in the league at that time. And I didn't think he received a lot of props, back then. And I think he was very underrated, but he was extremely talented, And I also, playing in Minnesota, and I played with a few guys that was CBA, that played in the CBA, who actually played with him. Sam Mitchell was one, and he used to tell me stories about Sugar Ray, and talent was undeniable, that's for sure. And like I said, rest in peace to him. We lost a good one. We definitely lost a good one. He was an innovative player, and he was doing things that was considered schoolyard at the time, and he had good size, and he just trended the position for sure.
Yeah.
Coach Wilkens, man, I can't say enough about him, man. Class personified, good guy, man. I experiences, and the point guards he has all his that a little bit of just Mookie and those guys having opportunity to be coached by Coach Wilkens, and rest in peace to him as well.
Yeah. So, Pooh, we got to get into it, man, because you know what? I'm a big fan of yours. I'm just let you know. I remember, okay, I was youngin'. I remember y'all came to the Garden and stuff like that. I remember y'all came to the Garden, UCLA, and always said, man, you give props to those, like I said, on the show I do with Rick Mahorn on Sirius XM, NBA Radio, the Bottom Line Sports Show, we always make it a point to bring guys on that played the game that people sometimes, and again, not to say that you seek the spotlight, but we need to remind people and make sure we acknowledge people like yourself and make sure, like, with quote unquote giving you your flowers because you deserve them. And always been a big fan of what you were able to do on both levels and stuff. And I want to start basically in Philly. How in the world did you get out of Philly and not end up at with John Chaney at Temple and end up at UCLA? And I know it's legal now, so the bag must have been really nice. I always kid with KA. It must have been real nice. It might have been real cash and stuff like that. I know they pay really well at UCLA. I'm just saying, it's a statute of limitations.
The Big East was on fire at the time. They just got the new TV deal with ESPN, so they were really going. And Syracuse was one of my final teams. Fortunately for me, my high school coach Ken Hamilton, who was really good friends with Coach Hazard, with Walt Hazard, because Walt Hazard also a Philly product. Andre McCarter, who also played in the league and played at UCLA on some of the championship teams, he's from South Philly, and he was on the coaching staff. So it made that transition a lot easier for me, coming from the East Coast, coming to the West, not having family here, and just trying to deal with the everyday thing, going to summer school and just trying to get myself acclimated. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it was definitely a challenge, but they bridged that gap and made it so seamless, man, that it was just I felt it was just such a right place for me to be at the right time as well.
You could have said that bag was nice. I mean, I wouldn't have mad. You know what I'm saying? You could have said it. I told you.
We allowed to talk about that?
It was nice. But you know, and going out there and getting acclimated, and just again, how long did it take for you to really get acclimated into that? Because you came in taking care of business and stuff like that, and obviously playing with Reggie. I think Reggie was either a senior that year or you came in your
junior.
freshman year. He was a junior. Okay. Yeah. Okay, and I remember you guys came to the Garden, and I think y'all played St. John's, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we played St. John's. Yeah. We used to play them home and away. You know, every other year. We there. They are at our place. Oh man, and they had some whips on that. Man, they had a crew. But that's another story.
When you look at that, and obviously that team and stuff like that, talk about the impact of really. Because I guess it was Reggie. You had a bunch of guys and stuff like that. It was kind of a veteran team and stuff like that. Talk about the transition. How was it for you from getting acclimated off the basketball court, which helped obviously on the basketball court?
Well, you know, actually going into to school that summer, just learning the whole dynamic of how school goes, summer school. The level of education, on the level of teaching, the higher learning, and then try to also balance playing basketball or getting my workouts in and try to keep the grades up at the same time, and then being away from home. See, there's a lot of those elements that sometimes people take for granted. And for you to get the job done, it just takes so much time and focus. So it doesn't really allow you to get into any other things. And now, you know, you in Los Angeles, quite naturally, you want to explore what's going on here from a social standpoint, right? So I was able to do that. And lucky for me, it was a strong movement and affirmative action in the colleges at that time. So I didn't really have to leave campus to get down with people that was like me. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't have to worry about that. You know, I didn't have to, you know, seek to where the parties was going to be. How was the party going to be? Was it like this or like that? But it was a lot of us on campus because of the affirmative actions movement. So I was in class and I was on campus with people from Compton, people from South Central, people from Hawthorne, people from the Bay Area, the Oakland area, because we had a quite influx of people from the Oakland area come down and was going to school. And I'm sure they probably, you know, it probably was a little different kind of strict regiment for them to be able to get to Stanford or Cal. So they came down there where we were. And some of my closest friends through college were from the Bay Area. And the Bay Area people reminded me so much of the East Coast. So they had a lot of people from the Oakland area. They had a lot of the grind, the you know, just everything's important right now. Let's get it done now. Let's not wait for tomorrow, you know. And so that was something that I had to get used to. Out here on the West Coast, they really take their time about doing things.
But you know what, Joe? I'm gonna tell you this. Let's keep it real on this show, and I'm just gonna give you your flowers. I have an older cousin who went to school, I think at UCLA or something. And and she said, Pooh, it was like, yo, Pooh Richardson got him. And I said, what? She said, yeah, he got all these girls up there going crazy. I said, what? She was like, yeah, that Pooh Richardson. I was like, and I had the opportunity to go to UCLA campus just to visit. And I was like, Lord, I was like, I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad. You put your work in and stuff like that. I ain't mad at you.
You know, let me say this. When you 18, 19, and you're considered different. So when you because there wasn't a lot of East Coast people at that school at the time, even going to class, there wasn't a lot of East Coast people, you know. So you felt a little bit different. And I wasn't going to change the way I was just going to be me. And instead of me making an adjustment to them, they made the adjustment to me. And then openly, I started adjusting to them and started understanding the culture and the different things. Because at the time now, you know, the gangbanging thing was heavy.
Yes.
there's certain places you couldn't go. I mean, now it's a little bit different, but certain places you couldn't go, have on red or have on blue, or that kind of nonsense. But that was, and I was looking at it as nonsense because that's not where I came from.
Right.
And that's not what the East Coast was all about, the grind and the hustle. If you're from Jersey, New York, DC, Philly, it wasn't about any colors. It wasn't color lines. And we used to think that was nonsense, but actually it's embedded in their culture. So you had to respect it. You know what I'm saying? And so I never went against what they were all about, but I had a pass to go anywhere I wanted to. So I didn't have to worry about I can't go to Nickerson Gardens, I can't go to Watts, I can't go to South Central. I went everywhere,
Wow.
I went everywhere, and I didn't stay just on campus, where it's you in Beverly Hills, you in Westwood, you in Hollywood Hills, you in Brentwood, Santa Monica. Man, I was in Compton, I was in South Central. Man, I was all over there. I was in Watts. Because I was befriending people that was in school with me, and that's where they lived. And like I said, a lot of them came in from the affirmative action piece, So I said, let me see. They keep telling me about Compton and Watson. Let me see what y'all hood is really about. I go there. Okay, I respect it. They got a hood. I respect it. It's not like that East Coast though, but I respect it.
Only difference is nobody's saying John. Where that John at?
Yeah, about the John in there. Yeah. Well, hey man, that's one of them Philly things. Everything is a John, right?
Yeah, the John, man.
It's all about the context, man. It's about the context.
You move on. You go to the 10th pick in the draft, and obviously a loaded draft. You go to Philly, Minnesota. Coming from Philly, you go to Minnesota. You're the first pick ever in the history of this new franchise. Talk about really just the pressure, if there was any, on you being that first ever draft pick. Obviously, they had the expansion draft, but you coming in, and what were the expectations perhaps? And once again, trying to get yourself acclimated to a new franchise that's starting from the ground up.
Well, I was excited because in my mind, and like any other young player who, now I don't know the mentality of today's players because I'm not on the bench with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I know when we were coming in, we wanted to play right away.
Right.
We weren't down with no load management or not playing. We would argue about coming out the game. So that was one of the pet peeves of coaches used to be mad at me because I never wanted to come out the game. So I used to log a lot of minutes because I wanted to be out there because I always felt that was a proving ground that you deserve and you was worthy of the selection that they made with you. Now coming to Minnesota, we had a supplemental draft, and Rick Mahorn was one of the individuals that was in that draft. He came to the draft party, but he didn't want to play there, and it wasn't because of the people or the players. I think when you get to that age and you're a mature veteran and you won championships, I don't think that you kind of want to start over again. And at that point, teaching a bunch of young guys how to be professional at that time, because now you got a lot of first timers, even the guys that was in CBA guys, this was their first time of legitimately being on a team. And Coach Musselman, rest in peace to him, he found comfort in those guys that was in the CBA who he's coached or coached against. So he knew how to basically arm his army to go for the fight, because you always fight an uphill battle when you're an expansion team, because you dealing with a lot of guys that don't have a lot of experience. Either they're young or they just don't have the experience of being in the league, or they haven't developed to the point where they can be super competitive on the level you need to be when you playing in that league right there, because that's a grown person's league.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna keep it real, and Rick will say this himself. We have you on the show. Rick would have went there if that money was right. Let's just keep it real. He would have. He said, "Hey, if that cheese right, he would have been there."
I think in hindsight, we all look at that and start figuring out what could we've done better as players. At least that's what I think all the time. What could I've done better in my situation? I hope management looked at themselves as well and say, when we first started the franchise, maybe we should have did what we had to do to make sure Rick Mahorn was there, because maybe that would have kind of, sped up the process a little bit on the development, of, like rest in peace, like Felton Spencer and Luke Longley, and having those guys and having Rick there daily kind of teaching them, I don't know if our organization at the time had that experience or that forethought to understand how you develop young talent.
Yeah.
And so that we missed the boat on that piece.
Yeah. Now you go from there, and obviously I think you go from there, you go to Indy, and you end up with the Pacers and stuff. Would you say that was and I think really that next year, after your first year there, is when Larry Brown takes over. And then you guys really lay the foundation along with former college teammate Reggie Miller, and really getting the Pacers on that run of respectability and them being a force through the 90s. Talk about how it felt really to be a part of a franchise that was winning games, because obviously going through that process as a young player for an expansion team, you encounter a lot of losses. And a lot of the times with rookies, it really can wear on you. And a lot of times you develop a lot of bad habits. Talk about how you avoided that, as well as going into a system and really a team that was connected to winning.
Okay, I had an advantage, and I must say, because going to UCLA, playing against the Lakers all summer for 4 years, getting taught hand by hand, hands-on by Magic, by Coop, by Norm Nixon. Isaiah would come down, and I would compete against them, and they would be teaching me at the same time. So a lot of the bad habits I didn't kind of have. And I was able to play more like risk-free basketball. I didn't take a lot of chances with certain passes. Didn't try to do something that I couldn't do. Always kind of try to stay within my game much as possible. The transition to Indiana was a bit tough for me. It was a bit tough for me because it was a good situation as far as, having the opportunity to win. And well as I do, you can have a career of 20 years and not win a championship.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the worst thing you don't want to do is not win a championship and still don't get the joy out of being a maximum performer. So now you feel like you've fallen short on two pieces of the plane, So the transition to Indiana was okay. Beginning of my first year, I felt when Larry came, he smothered me a lot. He didn't allow me to be me. When I got there, I was averaging 17-8 or 17-9. Okay, so do the numbers. That's what I was averaging, with maybe 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. So I took care of the ball. You wasn't taking it, and I wasn't making mistakes. And I can score, and I was defending. So when I went to Indiana, I didn't think that would change. I thought that would be something that kind of would have been layered and help me and help catapult not only the team and myself into a different level. Well, needless to say, I go there, play, do that. Then they asking me to do less. It was never about a contract. Donnie Walsh, solid, made sure I was good, right? Never worried about the contract. You go to Indiana, they're going to take care of you. That's for sure. Okay. Without hassle. United, they don't do the haggling. It's just either this is how we're going to do it, right? So I went there and I just felt that after Bo Hill was let go, I felt I was in trouble. Because at least with Bo, he would allow me to kind of be somewhat of myself. Now, I may not get 15 shots, 18 shots a night like I was getting in Minnesota. Bo will make sure I at least got 12 to 14 looks. You know what I'm saying? And the ball was in my hand. Now you go into a more talented team. You have others who do certain things, right? So we had Detlef, who was like a point forward as well. So I didn't have to have the ball 90% of the time. So that right there going to take something from my game, because I was a controlling point guard. The ball's been in my hand. Everything that went on the court was how I orchestrated it, right? So excuse me?
You were the facilitator.
I was a facilitator, right? And I controlled the game and made sure that everybody who needs to get shots got shots. And I made sure I took care of myself as well, right?
Right.
Now, when going to Indiana, after you facilitated everyone, then there's nothing left on your plate. And who going to help you do what you need to do, because you still got in your heart and in your mind and your competitiveness, you want to prove that you're worthy of being on a playoff team and that you are a guy on that team that can make some things happen, right? So when they smothered that, and Larry being who he is, and great coach. Larry Brown is a great coach.
But it can be tough.
What kind of duty is, what kind of duty is, I'm gonna leave that to everybody else. As a coach, he a great coach, but as a dude, I ain't feeling him, right?
I know what you mean.
So every creative point guard he has had, he's always had a confrontation with him. And see, that's what people don't like they don't see. I like if we keep everything a buck, we got to keep it a buck, right?
Yes.
So if you talk about how great he is, you got to talk about how many guys that he has destroyed and creating narratives around these guys that he knew people was going to Bleav. See, it was the craziest thing I've ever experienced, because I'm coming from a pure environment. I'm coming from either you can play or you can't.
Yeah.
That's it. We ain't in the look. If I'm supposed to be a good coach, which he is, when I evaluate talent, I say, oh, this is what he can do for us. This is what he can do. He can do that. I'm not trying to break him. I'm not trying to do anything to destroy his confidence so he can come back to me and need me to be successful. He was already successful before I got there. All I want to do is give him some more gas to go into his engine. You know what I mean? Get him rolling. That's what I thought. But it was what it was. And me being who I am, I mean, I ain't gonna be bullied by nobody. So that's how that went down. So I was like, man, whatever. If because in my deal, I had a no trade contract. So I had to agree to the trade, or I would have got paid some really good heavy money. So I agreed to the trade, said, you know what, maybe I ran my race. Let me go ahead, go to the Clippers. I'm around my people, went to college there. I can play there. A lot of my business relationships are there. A lot of my people are there. And it's almost like a second home. So I was like coming back home, and I was okay with that. Of course, I wanted the Pacers to still win. They didn't win a championship, but I still was hoping that they win. They went to a championship. I was hoping that they win because a lot of my guys were still on that team. But that was my train. See, a lot of people wanted me to explain what happened in the Indiana piece. Why the drop off? Why you drop so far off? Because my man is a cold bully, but he wasn't going to bully me.
Tell him how you really feel. Tell him how you really feel. I tell you this, and I'm trying to figure this out. Obviously, your experience and knowledge and stuff, and obviously you now coaching. You've been coaching for some time. Started out AAU basketball. Talk about how you got to COD or Road Runners. How did you end up in Palm Desert?
We used to have training camp out here.
Okay.
When it was with the Clippers, we had training camp out here, and through my years of college, this is only an hour and a half to an hour and 40 minutes from LA. It used to be a big time party spot during the spring break. Quite naturally for us is basketball, but I never came up here during college because I had to concentrate on my game, my books, and I had enough on campus anyway, so I didn't have to go anywhere to search for it, as I said earlier. So coming up here, I never really experienced coming up here. And when we had training camp, I was able to come up here and I saw it. And I said, man, I kind of like this. It's my pace. Real smooth, real slow. Coming from Philly, living in Los Angeles, you didn't got both. You got the extreme of both end. Living in Philly, spending time in New York, Los Angeles. So you got the whole spectrum of that. So now you get into a new piece where it's slow down. Everything is kind of methodical, real easy, real laid back. More like a tourist or a retirement town. See, for me, I like that. The rat race, I don't like the rat race. So therefore, I said, I'm going to come back in the summer when season is over, and I'm going to see what this is all about. So I came back in July, which I shouldn't have came back in July. Man, it was about 180. so I was out looking for places. About 180, man. I was walking in places that haven't been open for years. And they opened up the door and then that heat hit you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But, I had to see through all that and decided, this is where I wanted to be. It was between here and San Diego. And I decided to do this. And I've been here for about consistently, maybe about 9 years, 11 years. I had a friend who did a little basketball stuff, worked out in LA a lot with some kids. He was coaching at COD. And he asked me would I come in and help. Well, I live literally 7 minutes from COD. Wow. So I can get there in 2 minutes, right? In Palm Desert, it's right there. So I can go in COD. And I started going in there, and then I started realizing how much is missing for a lot of these young guys who have to go to the junior colleges. It's not like now you're getting more talented guys that go into junior college because everyone can't get those Division I scholarships, right? Yeah. And guys are really good and they get into that junior college thing, right? So back then, guys were missing a lot of stuff. And a lot of it was the maturity factor. A lot of it was understanding how life goes. A lot of times those guys are just missing the boat on just the life piece. And because I had the ear, because of my experiences and my playing career, I was able to have the ear to guys and kind of help guide them in directions where maybe I didn't get the total package when I was playing. See, I didn't play with a veteran guy who was like, come on, young boy, take me by the arm. I'm gonna show you how to do this. Yeah, I'm gonna show you how you do this joint right here. You gotta, I didn't have that. Right. So I was giving them that and help elevate them so they can have an opportunity to play on the next level. I don't care if it's NAIA, Division II, or D1, whatever they can play, just letting them know it's about getting in school and getting that paper and dealing with life, because this basketball has a shelf life, and you get that paper and get that scholarship. and get that degree. And then now you're dealing with longevity and your earning power, right? As young boys. So it's kind of hard to tell a young boy that at 20 years old,
Yeah.
but at least you listen.
Yeah, and you know what? Junior college now, and that was the next question I want to ask you, because the landscape of college basketball, a good friend of mine is Penny Hardaway, and just seeing how it has shifted, where high school kids now have to pretty much look at either prep school, junior colleges at one point was really decimated because of the prep school thing. Now it's come full circle with college coaches saying major Division I schools are like, listen, we want transfer portal kids, we want older kids. What better than to go to a junior college? And now let's talk that possibly you get your years extended. How difficult is it? Has your experience been and young kids, these players understanding the landscape that they're in now and realizing that this path to the NBA and something like that, it's become a little bit more difficult, just even trying to get a major college scholarship offer?
Yeah, teaching them that is one thing, but then for them to understand it is another. The difficulty of being a professional basketball player now starts at the age of about 7, 6.
Yeah.
Because now, there's so many things in place to guide those guys in that direction. Because now if you're coming out of high school, if you're not one of the top 5, top 7 guys, you most likely going to have to go to a prep school, junior college, to try to slide over seasons and try to come back. I mean, this thing has got a little different. And I think largely because the major teams were losing in the NCAA tournament to the quote unquote unknown teams who had maybe transfer guys, some junior college guys, a 24-year-old point guard or something along that line, when experience beat them. So now they say, well, basketball has always been a copycat league, right? Or copycat sport. So guess what? I'm going to get me some experience as well. And then it starts circumventing all the transfer portal to this, to now, man, it's crazy. Because remember when we was watching college basketball, we would get the advertisements on TV about who's playing who, right? NBC or CBS would actually highlight who's playing who as far as the team and those marquee players. Reggie Miller goes against Chris Mullin on, boom, 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 right? And that runs this year, it runs next year, it runs the year after. Right now, you don't know who's where and what they gonna be tomorrow. And it's so many dynamics, so many moving pieces. So now you get a guy who you have. Now you may not have him next year, and you got to re-recruit him if you want him.
Yeah. I mean,
it's got to be tough, especially for Penny. It's got to be tough.
Oh yeah. I mean, I always go back and I look at someone like, I say Kelvin Sampson, right? He's done a phenomenal job. If I had to pick one person, not in a negative way, I think Kelvin Sampson would probably be that person that triggered all of this. Because if you remember that Houston teams, they were a little older, but they were physical. You never heard of these guys. They were playing straight bully ball, right?
Thug life. They had thug life going.
And they were in that American conference. And I really think that really started everything. And then it sort of, it kind of spun out of control, if you will, when they went from there to the Big 12 and they started dominating there and looking where they're at now. So you're right. Everybody is in, and I think even now with the money that's involved, where it's like, look, you got to win. Okay, we this money's out here. You got to win. You don't have no time to develop any kids. And I think the sad thing about it is just sharing with college kids and high school kids that, the low Division I kids now are being put in the Division II. Well, those Division II kids, they have to go to Division III. So everybody's being pushed down further. And my youngest son, he's 6'5", he's a lefty. And he was told by, I'll say his name, Bruce Pearl, was like, yo, you too young. He was 18. He was like, yo, you too young. You know, he said, yo, you gotta go to junior college. You too young. And that's what it's become now, where again, it's just really a difficult cycle. But it's great that junior college basketball is more prevalent. I really love the fact is that California has its own conference. It's not a part of that, the NJCA, all the different regions and stuff like that. So it is very, very comforting to know that you have more options. But scholarships, man, it's very, very challenging. But again, at the end of the day, older is what's in when you look at college basketball.
Right. And with the California system of junior colleges is more self-contained.
Yeah.
Our governing body controls a lot of the stuff. Now, in order for it to go to the next level, I think that we have to start infusing a little bit more of sponsorships and stuff, because I think as junior colleges go on, and if this is going to be the platform and the format for those guys to go to that next level, that the junior college is going to have to be a little bit more appealing from a financial standpoint. And that don't mean about just money. It's just the overall look, the upgrades on everything, the upgrades on uniforms, the upgrade on staff, the upgrades on the facilities and stuff like that. But when you normally go to junior college, at least in the state of California, there's always a curriculum that's already priority. Like at our college, priority curriculum is nursing. So, it's like, you rumbling trying to get something done for the guys and for the athletes, and our staff has been, and our management and our administration has been extremely understanding about what you need to do to be least competitive. And to them, they don't worry about that, because they get good numbers as far as from admissions. They get good numbers. They have tons of money they get from the Burger Foundation, which is one of the hugest foundations in the country. So we constantly having things going towards the studies, but I would like to see some of that stuff be projected into the athletic department, so we could kind of get some of the guys that allow us to be very competitive, But I don't mind development, but sometimes, I like to kick my feet back too and see youngsters go to work. You know what I'm saying?
But it's so crazy. I think that what the landscape so much has changed with college basketball that inevitably, I think you're really going to have NIL money that's going to have to exist at the junior college level, and somebody's going to get collectives and really start paying to have these kids come down to the junior college and stuff like that. Pooh, I don't want to take up too much of your time, man. And definitely, I appreciate this, man. I got to ask you some questions, though, man. I definitely got to ask you some questions before we let you get on out of here, man.
Go ahead.
Definitely looking forward to this, man. It's just so. Is it true you had Janet Jackson's number? You called her at Colorado Springs. Is that true?
Oh, we knew each other.
I mean, again, no, I'm just saying, is that true?
Yeah, we knew.
Because I heard the story. It was a story going around that at the Olympic trials, a lot of talking back and forth, and there was a lot of money being bet. And said Pooh went to the phone, called somebody up, and said, "Yo, it's Janet." They was like, "Yo." So I just wanted to know, can you confirm that was that a true story?
We good.
And then, I mean no harm, but I heard this line that is synonymous. It says, "Knock, knock."
Who's there?
It'll say Pooh's there, right? I heard that. I heard, it said knock, knock. It said Pooh's there. I heard this. Is this true? Is this true? You got to confirm this for me.
Hey, man, look.
You said knock, knock.
Hey, man, put it this way. I maximize all the perks and things that college provided for me. I definitely, I didn't leave nothing on the table, put it that way. And if I had to do another 4 years, I could have.
Hey, before I let you get on out of here, what's next for Pooh Richardson? What is the next in terms from a professional standpoint and stuff like that? What's next? Obviously the junior college, you really settled into that. What is next for Pooh Richardson?
Well, I like I said, I live here in the desert. I have fun. I play a lot of pickleball. That's my thing now. I play a lot of pickleball. That's my thing. I do some stuff for Timberwolves, every now and then, we talk, and they putting some things together where they trying to do some shows, do some stuff. So that's actually in the making. But for me, it's all about now just, giving these young boys some education and giving them an opportunity to kind of be the best version of themselves. It's basketball and any other sport as well. You find yourself young individuals never get a chance to display their full talent, and I like to coach young guys and like them to cut down on your mistakes, but be yourself and be comfortable, because that's how you get the best version of a player, for them to do what they do best. All you want to do is cut down on the mistakes. I'm not trying to change nothing that you do. I want to change you, make you, because what happens, let's say a young guy wants to play and he's doing it your way, but his way has been effective, but you're not going to accept that. You got to just do it my way. And guess what? He don't do it well. So now he's not even doing his way, and he's not doing your way right. So there's nothing going right. So it's just, for me, I just want to stay positive for the young guys, give them hope, let them know that it's about the game of life, and continue to enrich them with all the knowledge that I have. And if I don't know something, I go get the knowledge, and I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to share that with the young guys, because I had it done for me. Because when I was growing up, we all had mentors in our neighborhood. In our leagues, we had mentors. A lot of these young guys don't have that. If they have absentee fathers, uncles, and nephews, or whoever, male figures in their lives, not saying that the females can't get it done, but it's nothing like having a strong male figure in your life who have some direction. It can teach you how to do certain things, because it keep you away from a lot of the road bumps, the speed bumps, they would say, or some of the landmines, right? And I just want to say thank you for bringing me on, man. I enjoyed it, man. It was a great conversation, man. Great conversation.
No, I appreciate that. We got a question here. Shaw Sports is asking, well, what are your thoughts about Anthony Ant-Man Edwards?
I love Ant-Man. I think that if he can stay healthy, because we all know that his skill level is tremendous. His athletic prowess sometimes may get him in trouble because of the way the game is. Over the course of the year, you know how your body takes a beating in that league. Yes, it's not as physical as it used to be, but with him, I just think that he has a legitimate opportunity to be one of the major faces of the league. I don't know if he can be the one guy, but I think he can be one of the guys.
I got you. Pooh, just stay right there. Just going to make sure to close out this show, man. Definitely appreciate it. Hey, make sure you tune in again. It's been Heavy in the Paint. Hey, we don't pump fake when we in the paint. Peace.
Thanks for joining the show. Be sure to subscribe to the show and follow the guys' social media. And remember, no pump faking in the paint.